Welcome to the Grand Shorts, a part of the Grand Podcast. The Grand. The Grand. Welcome to the Grand, the EU funding podcast. Now we're on a roll here, Ana-Marija and I.
Hello, everyone.
We are recording 3 episodes in a row. And we just went through a specific call text on soil.
Let's keep it simple.
Quite ambitious call text on how to improve the quality of soil, and the next step we have here in this free episode towards idea developing from a specific call is that we will now go through how you work, the model that you use, or how you approach a call when you have to work with it and start building up an idea, project concept. Yeah? Mm-hmm. This is what a lot of you out there, what you're doing. Yeah, it's if you're grant consultant, or if you are working in a university and you sit and support research institutes as a research manager and so on, helping with scoping, setting with how can we approach this? What concept can we develop? So that's what we're going to do. And maybe Anna, just 2 words about yourself.
Yes. So hello, everyone. It's nice to be back and to be kind of, let's say, lab experiment for Niels in this specific podcasting. And I'm actually a consultant with 13 years of experience with Horizon, FP7 and Erasmus Plus projects. And I'm dealing specifically in the segment of food processing and agriculture. And yeah, I just am dealing with a kind of, let's say, complex projects and complex calls such as Horizons. And I'm trying to make it work at the end of the day.
It's a very good fly-in to and bridge to what we're going to do, because you do work with these things all the time. And when you do that, and you have done so for many years, you start to put up, you have systems, you start to put things into a frame, or you have to start to categorize things when you have to attack things. So, and what is it? Yeah. Unfolded.
What is it? Unfolded. Yeah. So first of all, a disclaimer. I am a they say I'm a one-pager person, so I like to put all the important information on one page. It keeps us focused, and I'm also a kind of tables freak. I like to put things in tables, and this disclaimer is very important because a lot of activities and brainstorming starts first with some sheets, Excel sheets, and with the SWOT analysis. And since I'm working a lot with the business planning and development of business models, I also use quite a lot business model canvas. So I have been using these tools for years, and in the last let's say 2 years, I have also developed my own system, let's say, within the framework of one of the projects. Concretely, it's the life seeding project. We developed the so-called the bird view concept. You know how when you are in a plane and you are watching through the window, you see all the fields and all the area, all the mountains, and suddenly you can maybe make a better decision at how the things work and how all things are connected. And the same, it's here in this model. So I don't know if you want maybe just a couple of words about the SWOT analysis and about the business model canvas that we tackle.
Yeah, most people would know the SWOT, and if many of you out there would have worked with SWOT and business canvas. But this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to share these things. So just run through them, the models.
Yeah. Okay. So just briefly, when we are talking about the SWOT analysis, we have to take into account the internal and external factors that are influencing the whole decision making. And of course, it goes from the perspective of the strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. But just to take into account that it's inside and outside activities. On the other side, if we are talking about the business models, you can actually it's actually a model of 9 different elements that takes into account all the relevant information in one place. So it goes from the key partners, key activities, resources that are involved, but also the customer relationship, which is very, very important, especially if you are putting something completely new and innovative on the market. And customer segments, it's about the channels, of course, cost structure and revenue streams, and the most important element, which is value proposition. Or in other words, what is the real diamond, the real value of our proposal, of our concept, of our project. So from that point, it's, let's say, very business oriented.
Let's just a quick. So for the SWOT, often both for the SWOT and for the business model canvas for SWOT, often you put up the 4 elements from the SWOT. So what can we fit under each column, so to say, of the 4? And it's the same thing you would do with the canvas model. So here, if anyone have tried this before, you have, and I'm looking at the presentation from Anna here as I speak. Also done it when I was a grant consultant. So you have patches of squares of a certain size, all together mixed in a puzzle, so to say. And then you have space there to write or put post-its. You would often have it on a big A2, for instance, something like this, or board. Board. And on the table, and then you will together often in a brainstorm, you will put, so who are the key partners that we need, partner value chain, right? Putting patches, what are the key resources? So what do we need in the resource corners? What does it cost? What is, we not do everything. That's 8 million euros for the project. So the cost structure, how do we manage, and so on and so forth. So you stand and you then put down very tangible. Yeah, it's very visible. It's very tangible that you say, okay, here, and then you can immediately see what's missing, and you can immediately see where you need to reflect more, where you maybe need some extra information, or where you lack capacities, where you to be able to fill in the whole puzzle.
Yeah, true. And also, I think that the best thing about the business model canvas and these kind of, let's say, one pagers is that you can very easily modify it. If you see that something is missing, you can easily add the information because it will be just one or two bullet points. So it's not like 30 pages that you have to search through and that you have to analyze whether you included it on all the places or not. So whenever I'm working with the proposals or with new projects, I'm always focusing on this. And what is also very important is that this kind of work, it's always better if you do it through the time. So I would not advise that you just do it for 2 hours and that's it and you're done, but really also to revise it, to get back to it and to see over a couple of days whether you really included everything or not. So that's very, very, very important. But okay, SWOT is a very old tool method, let's say, and although people are in the last period of years are saying that it's too old and that it's already like not working, I personally really like it because it's without, sorry for my French, it's no bullshit zone. You have to put the good and the bad sides of each side, but also has some kind of limitations, because you cannot, in the real case scenario, implement all the things that you have in mind. And that's why we actually developed the bird view concept, which actually combines both of these elements, the SWOT analysis and the business model canvas in one place. For example, we have actually the structure of 3 parts. The first thing is the challenges of the day. So what I'm concerned about today. The second one sounds like opportunity. So, we want to think in a positive, optimistic way and to see the opportunities on the market. And the third one is the future. So what will happen in the future that can affect our proposal, our project, our product or service. And then within each of these categories, Niels will share the model so that you can keep track of it. But within the challenges, we want to understand what are the internal challenges and external challenges. So within the team, whether we have all the capacities covered, all the resources that we need. And on the external side, what could be still affecting our proposal or the product or the service. So it's very important to understand what are the bottlenecks, what can actually influence our project from the negative side, let's say. And then if we are talking about the opportunities, first of all, we need to fully understand, let's say, the legal, the market opportunities, activities that are happening. You cannot be in your bubble, but you have to really go out and investigate what is happening and how it could also influence the project itself. And the 2 elements that are included from the business model canvas is actually the unique proposition. What is the real value of your proposal? What is something that no one else will put in the proposal? Why your proposal will be better than any other proposal? So you have to be the diamond in the room. And the last thing is the customers and channels. So how will you be addressing the customers? In the sense of the proposal preparing, the customers could also be the stakeholders. How you will tackle the stakeholders, how will you engage them, what kind of channels you will be using to reach them, to sell them the idea of the project, And the last thing is about the future. And over here, we can talk about, first of all, about profitability. Because if we want to make something that is in a long run, that is something that can be funded or that is getting its point in the market, you have to be profitable. You have to make sure that the business is running and that it makes sense. So from the profitability level, what are and could be the revenue streams? And sometimes it happens that people are just seeing the 1 or 2 revenue streams that are the most evident, the most obvious. But normally it's not all the streams that you could include, actually. It can happen, for example, with the researchers. They say, I could maybe sell the product, the seed or the soil analysis, that we are performing. But they don't remember that they can also sell the knowledge that they have, that they could be a consultant, for example, for some specific topic, or that they could also include themselves in different training positions, and these kind of stuff that can also occur with different memberships or streams. And it's also about the recommendations of any kind that deals with the perspective of the project or product in the future. So what needs to be, it's like assumptions, what needs to be done in order to really have it rolling out. So maybe it sounds very, very complex now in the audio setting, but when you see the whole canvas, it looks very logical, and it's very easy to fill it in.
It is.
You don't have.
So you have 3 columns, and then with the sub categories here that Anna just went through, and it makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's always better if you try to put complex elements in a simple and user-friendly format, so that you actually know what you are filling in, and whether it makes sense at the end or not.
All right. So next step.
So once we actually have this kind of, let's say, canvas, I always prefer that the coordinator and the basic team fills in this kind of information. And from there, we actually go to the brainstorming session. So we get some kind of information prepared, and then we do the brainstorming. And this brainstorming, there are, of course, a lot of digital online tools that you can use for mind mapping. But the one that I prefer is always that we sit in person, if possible, and that we just write down on a paper. So we just take like an A3 paper, larger size, and then we just write down with all sorts of colors and combinations, just to follow the flow of the thoughts.
Yeah, I'm looking at the presentation here now from Anna, and it is indeed. It's you have the name of the draft project name in the middle, and then you have a lot of things dotted down. You have squares, you have circles, you have arrows, you have bullet points.
Arrows,
1, 2, 3,
a lot of arrows.
Yeah. It's a real brainstorm.
Some things crossed and other ones added, so it's a very rough.
Indeed,
draft,
it's very tangible. It's a working document, obviously.
Yeah. A work in progress. Yeah, but actually, what is important at the moment of the brainstorming is that you just don't stop the flow of the brainstorming. There is no bad idea during the brainstorming, and when you are using some digital tools, it can happen, okay, there is a poor internet connection. Someone cannot hear you. And there are 3 people who are waiting in a line to give their thoughts and things like that. And it's a bit of different dynamic than when you are talking in person. And from that point, as I mentioned, the best option that I use is actually the paper format. And once you have this information, for example, in this project that we also went through the call, we detected some general things or general work packages that we want to tackle, according to what they mentioned in the proposed activities. So we said that we want to focus on the knowledge transfer, that we want to focus on the innovative solutions and systems, about the upscaling and demo sites, these kind of stuff.
Yeah, and here it's important to underline here that, as you might remember from the first episode where we went through the cortex, there was a lot of should, what you have to do, and a lot of bullet points that you have to do, but that still leaves room for you to where you put the weight. You can do everything, but this is why proposals differ. Yeah? It's where you put the weight, how you tackle this task.
Yes, and also to point the work to the right partner of the consortium. But when we are talking about where to put the weight, I think nowadays in Horizon projects, you have to put the weight more or less on a majority of the things, So that's the difficult thing, let's say. Previously, you could say, okay, those are the 2 or 3 strong points, and other ones I will do it, but you can see automatically that it's not the primary focus. And nowadays, with so many consortiums competing, you really have to address all the points.
Okay, forget what I said.
Then we'll also do it not only on the level of one country, but also to do it on the level of Europe. Or, for example, first of all, the consortium countries, which is maybe 12, 15 different countries, but then you have to include the outreach regions for the knowledge transfer and this kind of stuff to cover the Europe. So it's very complex. But I always prefer, when we are writing the proposal, that we first do this exercise and that all of the core team members, the work package leaders, have this kind of, let's say, sheet in front of them, the mind map in front of them. Because later on, it's easier to write all of the text of the proposal if you remember how it is connected and what numbers we wanted to use and what makes sense with the call or not. And then, you will see, I will share this kind of, let's say, draft version. It's very nasty, it doesn't look pretty, but it contains a lot of information. And from that point, after that meeting, I always like to summarize things up and try to put it in a user-friendly format, which people can read actually, compared to the previous version, where we use different colors, different arrows, where we specifically define and bullet point all the elements that we want. For example, in this specific case, we said that we want to develop 6 different work packages. The first one was focusing actually on the knowledge practices, and the second one was about the innovative solutions. So it's about different assessments and also kind of, let's say, workshops with farmers, the guidelines preparation. In the text of the proposal, they specifically asked for guidelines. So we implemented it in the proposal. The work package 3 was about the upscaling and also the demo sites, but also in this case, the development of the living labs, and then explaining what are the differences between those two, how it's connected with all the strategies, with all the action plans that they indicated in the beginning. After that, the socioeconomic link between food and soil, because it was also a specific sentence that they indicated in the call text. And over here, we talk about indicators about the cost-benefit analysis, LCA, and so on. And of course, the focus is on the policy and the knowledge transfer, because it's multi-actor approach, so you have to take into consideration all the elements. And of course, communication and dissemination and exploitation, how to put it in the real case scenario. No. Next to that, of course, there is a coordination work package, but it's a standard work package.
Yeah, you should always remember to use the grant for that.
That's true.
No. And now, thanks. Now, this is the last slide you have for this second episode. But what I need to check with you, so the brainstorm process, you do that in your team or with partners?
Well, the brainstorming part needs to be done with the coordinator, and first of all with the coordinator. And after that, in the second part, when we have some, let's say, main elements detected, we do it with the core partners. So it's the work package leaders that we give additional responsibilities in participating in the proposal, more freedom to develop, of course, the activities and so on. So it is certainly done with at least a team of, let's say, 5 to 7 or 8 people.
Okay. So it's you start off with the key responsible, so to say, and then you leave room for the work package leads to have their own say in the individual work package.
Yes, of course. There's a thing because they are also working more specifically on the brainstorming for their own work package. But the beauty of this kind of, let's say, joint work package brainstorming is that then you can get an input from other partners who are not maybe the experts in that segment, which gives you additional value and added value of proposing the activities for your work package. They give you some hints what could be still done or what they've heard somewhere else. Or sometimes you just hear work package leaders saying, I'm not sure how to deal with it. And then there is a connection and the networking. I know who knows how to do it, or I will check with my colleague how they did it in another proposal, this kind of stuff. So it goes very fast. When it starts, it goes quite fast, but it's also very important to have a good moderator who is keeping track of time, but also a kind of, let's say, structure, that you are not just focused an hour on one work package, but that you actually provide sufficient time for everyone to participate, and that they are still fresh, with ideas. When you are organizing a brainstorm session, you never know how long it will last. Some brainstorm sessions last, for example, 2 hours, others last 5 hours. And it's very, energy consuming. After brainstorming, a good brainstorming, you feel really like you did a very good exercise.
You're exhausted. Yeah. The way, but now we are about to reach the end of this episode. But just so I remember these things where I would sit with a colleague from P&O. She was the proposal writer, and I was the one that would reach out to and facilitate connection with partners and so on. And we would sit and do the concept developing ourselves the first go. But that was during COVID. So we would sit like this in Teams with a PowerPoint sheet, an empty PowerPoint sheet, and start to make squares of work packages and start to put in, like how it's this and this and this and this. And then we would present it to the coordinator in a meeting, and we would have a session there where they would adjust it. They would review things before the meeting and then giving their suggestions. And then we would start to reach out to partners. Then started the work, because there you have, like you also have here, then you have a work to do, reaching out to people and finding someone who could fit in the value chain and so on and so forth. And then the work starts with getting more detail. But indeed, it's this is a very this is a very tangible process. I like the way that you work with this. So well done. Now,
thank you.
Do you have anything else, or should we shut this one down to move into the third episode too?
Maybe just a small remark throughout the whole process. I always, when we start working with a proposal, I just print out the call text. And then when I'm doing this kind of, let's say, mind map and brainstorm, I then also return back to the call text and check whether we did this, whether we included this part or not. And based on that, then you can see whether you're aligned or not. So it's a very ongoing process. You cannot just read it once and that's it, but you have to keep returning to it and improving it.
I can only recommend that, because I didn't do that, and that put me in trouble sometimes.
It's never too late to start.
That's why you earn money on this and I don't. So
I have just a lot of work.
And thanks. Now, again, like episode 1, I'm not going to make the full exit as I normally do. But dear listeners, thank you for listening to the end of this episode. Shortly will come episode number 3, where we will actually work with this method with the cold text. So we're looking forward to that. So see you then. So bye.
Bye.
The grand